Welcome one and all to this difficult time. I'm Steve Bradshaw, and basically I'm going to go through the inner voice. A lot of people have asked me about this. Every day we are being guided, and to be able to determine what is guidance and what is your brain will determine how you go on your spiritual journey. Now, the reason for the inner voice is that we have lessons to learn. We have a path that we probably have chosen for our journey. And every now and then tapping into the inner voice helps us. So there's always guidance around us all the time if we're open to it. But sometimes we're caught up in what we are worrying about and fearing, especially at this moment, because it's triggering the unknown in us. You know, will I have enough money next week? Will I be able to pay my rent? Am I going to die? Am I going to catch this virus? These are all triggering our insecurities and our fears and anxieties. And so this is bringing to the surface, which then means that the brain will start to kick in, and it will start to try and attract situations for us to realise that we are supported and loved by the universe. And that is the key, that your soul is always sort of like helping you on your journey, but there is an inner voice which is part of everything, the universe, the soul, everything. And that is also guiding us on our journey, but it's mostly guiding us on our spiritual journey, on our journey to finding what it is that we feel or we've worked out that we want to learn about. So it's quite hard at times, because when you're too busy in the moment, when you're too busy fearing or worrying, you can't see anything else. It's like you can't see the woods for the trees, they say. You know, you're in that moment where you're embroiled in the feelings, and your body is rejecting the pain and the suffering, and your mind is trying to bring it forward so that you'll let go of it. And then your soul is interjecting to try and calm you down and bring peace to your life. And that's why you should always follow your heart, because the heart is near what we call the inner voice, or the source within us. That when we tap into that, we find balance, we find peace, we find the solutions. And eventually, when we align with our mind, body and soul, it becomes automatic. We don't get as many of the worries and fears, because we're in the energy that is the solution. And so this is really key to the inner voice, that you've got to understand, and you've got to get yourself into a state at times to be able to recognize this. So if you are caught up in overthinking, then don't fight it. Don't try and counteract it. Basically, let it go. Let it have its moment. It's like with anxieties or anything like that. It's because that we've held on to them and feared them and feared them and feared them, and all of a sudden the body's gone into automatic release. And that's what the anxiety, the panic attacks is. It's an automatic release. It's like crying. It's an automatic release because you've held on too much, or basically you've not dealt with it. So recognizing triggers is really important. So if you have a negative thought, or you think about doing something, the quickest way is just imagine it, putting it into a box or giving it to the universe. What that does is it tells your brain that you've dealt with it, you know, and then the brain will move on. It won't keep repeating the cycle. You won't be keep getting things that are related to that fear, that deep-rooted energy that you have in your body that's being triggered. Unconditional love, even though it neutralizes it, can actually trigger deep-rooted problems as well and bring them to the surface, because the body doesn't need it anymore. And what happens is we suppress it again, and the body's fighting with yourself because it doesn't want to feel that pain, so it's telling the brain to do something about it. The brain's trying to let you know that basically you're always supported and loved, and basically that it's just that you're separating in your thoughts or ideas. You're feeding the illusion. You're feeding the fear or the anxiety, or you're actually getting attached to that this possibly could happen. So if you're fearing that there's not going to be enough money around and this, that and the other, what's it going to show you? It's going to bring into your focus people have not got enough money, more stress, more things that's happening in the world. And so this is the key to it all. Now, I'm not saying that any of these things are not, because for balance, you have to have negativity. So your body, even though you can't be positive all the time, because often if you're trying to be positive, you're not being positive. And this is a big problem for people. When we try to be positive, we are coming from a place of lack. You just got to be positive. Yeah? It's a hard one for people to understand, that one. And I'm fighting with loads of people on it. But remember that if you looked at my enlightenment, it's 3 stages. You have the human experience, the state of being, which is just the energy, and then the automatic flow is when you've gone from feeling the energy to then go into the automatic stage of it flowing to you and through you, and there's no resistance and no blocks. The human experience is giving you ideas and thoughts, you know, of what you may need to do to realise that you're a pure energy that's everlasting, and so to have a fear. So sometimes when I have a real problem, I think, what's the worst that can happen? You know, if I had no money and I lost my place, you know, the universe will still support me, still find me another place or whatever. So even if the worst scenario, it's like when people say to me, yeah, but I could die. And I was like, well, being a medium, that's a little bit hard for me, because I have evidence that obviously we come back, or we, you know, there is life after death. So I find that hard to even go with. And then a lot of people have helped out, and I've said to them, but are you living at the moment? And they go, no. I said, so you've created the fear of the worry of dying, and then you've created illnesses to prove your point. And that's not really helping. So getting back to the inner voice, the inner voice is your spiritual path, it's your guidance to peace, to what you've chosen to do, what part you to play, you know. And in some ways, it's a sacrifice to yourself. You might sacrifice part of your life to help a lot of people out without realising it. So that's why you go through certain pains, because when you've been through that pain, you know, the one thing when I was younger, I didn't think I was good enough because of a programming from childhood and past life. And so what I always used to do was, I had an uncanny knack to make people feel special, or I could see the good in people. And I used to tell them about the good in them. And people don't get to hear that very often. And so it was just a natural ability without realising it. So me not feeling good enough, I mean, I did most of the time, because I did some wonderful, amazing things, but deep down, I didn't feel good enough. That's what I'm saying. It was a programming until I cleared it out, sort of thing. And so it was always part of my life. But now I can see the benefit of it. I can see the benefit of collecting this second prize medal for my father, and always knowing that if you really work hard and you try hard, and you will win eventually. And so most of the things in my life have succeeded where other people have gone, oh, I don't want to do that anymore, or they've just not stayed in the mix. You know, they're just not wanted it enough. And that is the key to it all, that there is another side to it. So even your traumas could be your part to play. You know, me making other people feel good helped me to understand that I could be good as well, and that basically it was an illusion, it was a program, and it's a trauma. So I set my style out here, and that's the one thing that sort of like hit me for 6, because I went on this 10-year journey. I gave up a lot of stuff, and then when I found all the answers, I wanted to share it with the world, but other people, because they hadn't experienced it, couldn't relate to what I was actually saying. And so I have to simplify things. I have to sometimes, you know, my spiritual concepts and stuff, people don't quite understand. And some of it, because the way the spirit world give me it is, you see, it is simple, but it's also complicated to try and share that. I love it when they give me the ideas to go with it. And this is the inner voice, really. It's like being tapped into the universe and being able to accept anything. And so when you just do things, you find that you learn how to do things, and you learn how to achieve, and you love the connections and why everything goes together. So when it comes to the inner voice, I would carry a diary or information. And so if anything comes out of nowhere that I haven't got time to process or anything, I'll just make a note of it. You know, ring Paul, or ring Ick, or ring my mate, or do this or do that. I make a note of it, and then I try and work out, is it from the inner voice? Is it just my brain? Because if it's my brain, it means that I might have something I'm holding on to that I need to let go of. If it comes twice, I definitely deal with it. But the quickest way is if it's negative, or I notice so many people being negative about themselves before they do anything. You know, that's not helping your life, because remember, your thoughts create your reality. And whether you believe that or not, it's really powerful, your power of intention. So, you know, if you're always saying you're not good enough, then you will see you're not good enough. But it doesn't really relate, because you come from a pure energy. You come from this amazing energy. So you can do anything. You know, you're linked to the universe. What the universe can do, you can do. Because you're the energy of that. And so once you understand this, so at this time, if it's getting a bit overwhelming for you, meditate. Bring nature into your house. Imagine the sun, the moon, the wind, the fire, just being poured around your body, and open your senses and feel the pure energy, and you'll suddenly feel a lot different, and you'll suddenly realise then that you know, the universe is working for you because you've realigned. So when you play your part, you realign to who you are, you know, and it's only as long as you want to do something from a place of peace, it will happen, because there won't be no resistance or blocks. The resistance and blocks and the sabotaging yourself comes when you come from a place of lack. You come from a place of not believing. You come from a place that, you know, oh, I'll never be good enough. Doesn't matter what I do, I'll never be good enough. It's not true, because you were born good enough. You know, you weren't born with this ability to hate people. You weren't born with this ability to want to control everybody. You've created that through your perceptions and your conditioning. And often the case because you didn't feel the true love. When I get into the universe, there is no fears and doubts and worries. When I get connected, there is no anything can't stop me then. You can't always stay in that, because you've got to experience the human experience, you know. And so it's just part of regular meditations, regular changing your thought patterns, regular, every time you get a negative energy or negative thought, just put it in a box or put it in the river and let go of it. And then you'll see how to let go of it, and the solution becomes automatic, you know. Or if you want a little bit of help with myself, I can find where the connection comes from past life or childhood or even in the future. We hold on to vibrations that are on our body, or we're picking them up from other people and situations and everything. So the inner voice is helping you and guiding you. So act upon it. Work it out. Ask your heart, is this an inner voice, or is this just my brain? And if it's your inner voice, go with it. If it's your brain, then deal with it by putting it in a box or whatever. And you'll find your life will be a lot easier. And you won't get caught up in the drama, the illusion. Because 90% of your thoughts are illusions. They've not actually happened. But we get so overloaded with negativity because we're putting out negativity and we're attracting it. Okay, I hope this has helped.